Hey, Shalom Akim, Shalom, Shalom. Give our honor, all praises and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, great millstone, for teaching us his truth, and salutations to the sincere Akim and Akwathim listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Raquai, back in here with another quick and Lord's will is always an edifying lesson. And for today's lesson, I just wanted to go through a quick, short story and example of how showing you how the importance of the prophets and showing how knowledgeable they were in certain things. And in this case, I wanted to talk about how the prophets were knowledgeable about herbs, right? And just in light of these different attacks, brothers getting getting illnesses and so on and so forth. It's just I guess a bit of an exhortation, as well as also something empowering too, because once you're able to actually learn, go through an experience in healing yourself through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, it kind of emboldens you to to continue to actually learn more and sharpen your sword, right? It's giving you experience, like okay, this does this. This has helped me alleviate these particular issues with my own body, right? So you're able to, it makes you more of a well-rounded type of individual. Of course, like Paul discusses, this is not to take away, certain brothers that might excel in these particular gifts, right? But having an understanding of the herbs, different types of herbs that help to alleviate certain types of symptoms, right? Especially around this time of year, you don't get a lot of sunlight. Esau has his different devices that are keeping the people sick. You're trying to be more mindful of what you eat, so on and so forth. Through these different to combat essentially these different devices, the Lord gave us the word, right? A word to be able to heal ourselves, right? And that's why that's why I always say that the things that are written aforetime, well, the scripture says, I should say, the things that are written aforetime are written for. As a matter of fact, I'll start with that. Then I'll jump to the story. This is Romans chapter 15, verse 4. And it says, "For whatsoever things were written aforetime, written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope," right? So this is the book that's going to give you understanding in regards to certain examples and situations. Because a lot of the things that we go through, it's our forefathers have gone through some type of way, shape, form, or measure, right? So that's why we're able to actually pull back, refer back to the script, and understand, like, okay, this is what happened, this is what this person did. Okay, I'm gonna avoid this. Or you realize, okay, this person did this, and this was very looked upon very favorably by Yahweh Bashem El Shai, right? So I'm going to emulate those particular characteristics, right? So I wanted to just get into just a quick short story in regards to one of our kings, King Hezekiah. Essentially, he got sick, and what did he do, right? What can we learn from this, right? What kinds of information can we extract from this particular account here, right? Because it's written for our learning, right? So let me go to the story, and I sincerely pray and hope that this lesson truly is edifying, right? So this is 2 Kings chapter 20, verse 1. And it says, "In those days was Hezekiah sick unto death, and the prophet Isaiah son of Amos came to him and said to him, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, set thine house in order, for thou shalt die and not live." And it says, then he turned his face to the wall and prayed unto the Lord Yahweh, saying, I beseech thee, O Lord, remember now how I have walked before thee in truth with a perfect heart, and have done which is good in thy sight. And Hezekiah wept sore. And it came to pass, afore was gone out in the middle court, that the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Turn again, and tell Hezekiah, the captain of my people, thus saith the Lord, the power of David thy father, I have heard thy prayer, and I have seen thy tears, and behold, I will heal thee. So essentially, you know, King Hezekiah came in a very, very humbled state, right? He came in a state where, okay, he understood that, Lord, but Kasha, look out, I've walked in this particular way, right? And, being able to essentially have, have mercy upon me, right? He didn't come essentially in a very, very proud, arrogant way, right? There's a parable that's spoken of in Luke the 18th chapter. When you read the difference, basically the difference between, I think it's the one with the Pharisee and the publican, right? And it's just a very difference in mentality between those two, right? So the Pharisee was kind of more in that mindset of like, you know what, I do this, I do that, for example, I fast, twice a week, I give my tithes and this and that and the fourth, right? But the difference between the mentality of the Pharisee and the publican was just vastly different. So with the publican now, he had more of a contrite, broken type of spirit, right? He couldn't even, lift up his eyes because he knew that he was a sinner. Lord, Baba Kasha, forgive me, right? And that's what we need. What we really need is forgiveness. What we need is, an advocate, to fight for us, right? To be able to protect us in these times with all these different calamities, right? So, as a matter of fact, let me get this. I'm just going to go to the Apocrypha, then I'll come back to the story. Okay, this is Ecclesiasticus chapter 35, verse 16. And it says, He that serveth the Lord shall be accepted, with favor, and his prayer shall reach unto the clouds. The prayers of the humble pierceth the clouds, till it come nigh, he will not be comforted, and will not depart, till the Most High Yahweh Bashmel shall behold to judge righteously and execute judgment, right? So it says that the prayers of the humble. So it's not the prayers of the arrogant, right? It wasn't the prayers of the prideful, so on and so forth, right? Those things that the Lord hates, right? Because pride is not made for worms like us, right? We need help. Right? So I'll read it again here, and it says, The prayer of the humble pierceth the clouds, till it come nigh, he will not be comforted, and will not depart, till the Most High shall behold and judge righteously and execute judgment. So having that humble state of mind. And if there's anything, because brothers, I'm sure, have gotten sick, sisters too, you've got sick before, there's nothing more humbling than being sick, right? You gotta call into work, you gotta, you just gotta chill out, man, right? We ain't all that, right? So let me go back to the story. And it says here, where was I? Okay, Second Kings 20:6. Oh, I'll read verse 5, and it says, Turn again and tell Hezekiah, the captain of my people, Thus saith the Lord, the power of David thy father, I have heard thy prayer, and I have seen thy tears. Behold, I will heal thee. On the third day thou shalt go up to the house of the Lord, and I will add unto thy days 15 years. And I will deliver thee out of this city, out of the hand of the king of Assyria, and I will defend this city for mine own sake and for my servant David's sake. And I kind of want to just touch on, I guess, another this major aspect here, right? Of Let me read it and then I'll go into it. And it says, verse 7, it says in Isaiah, take a lump of figs, and they took and laid it to boil, and he recovered. And Hezekiah said to Isaiah, what shall the sign be that the Lord will heal me? And shall I go up into the house of the Lord on the third day? And Isaiah said, the sign shall thou have of the Lord, that the Lord will do the thing that he hath spoken. Shall the shadow go forward 10 degrees or go back 10 degrees, right? So the Lord, he said he was going to do this, and he did it, right? So when you go through this as well, it shows you that the prophet here, Isaiah, actually had an understanding and a working knowledge of the herbs, right? And that's kind of really the main point I also wanted to grab within this lesson, but also expressing the importance of Hezekiah's humility as well, right? Showing that that's also too important, because when you are sick, you're in a very, very vulnerable state, right? We know, as a matter of fact, let me read this here in Job, and I'll come back to this. This is Job chapter 11, verse 6, and it says, and that he will show thee the secrets of wisdom, and they that are double to that which is. Know therefore that the Most High exacteth of thee, lest thine iniquity deserveth, right? So it's like, you're just in a situation where, like, you take it and you get sick, you take it cheerfully, but at the same time, we realize we messed up, right? So it's like, oh my goodness, you're just in a very vulnerable state. So one of the best things to do is just to remain humble. It's always good to express that type of humility, right? So in regards to the prophet Isaiah's working knowledge of the different herbs, let me go to what's that? This is Psalms chapter 104, verse 14. And it says, he causeth the grass to grow for the cattle, and the herb for the service of man, that he may bring forth food out of the earth, and the wine that make glad the heart of man, and the oil that maketh his face shine, and the bread which strengtheneth a man's heart, right? So these different herbs of the field, they are, used within righteousness, can properly, being able to heal you. And one of the things, if I may share just a quick testimony, one of the things I recently learned was the the benefits of using raw garlic, and I recently learned this from one of the elders, right? So I'm not really gonna go too much into it, but I'm just gonna read something real quick. So this is how. So I just went to Google just to read this real quick, just to get a bit of overview for brothers who may not know this, right? Garlic enhances the function of critical immune cells, including T cells, natural killer cells, macrophages, and dendritic cells, helping them to fight off pathogens, antiviral and antibacterial properties. So its sulfur compounds, especially allicin, have antiviral effects, potentially blocking viruses from entering cell hosts, acting as antiseptics, against bacteria and fungi. Garlic helps to lower chronic inflammation, which otherwise weaken the immune system, which can restore white blood cells, right? So, hold on. I just want to read this here. Garlic can increase antibody titers, meaning more antibodies are available to target specific threats. So essentially, you're just equipping your body with more understanding of how, well, not more understanding, I should say, but more um, equipment, right, to be able to fight off a lot of these different pathogens. And this is one of the things where the scriptures talk about in terms of wisdom. It really and truly is the principal thing, right? You know, because our people, you know, they're essentially just destroyed for lack of knowledge, right? And this is why the same prophet Isaiah, he even said, I think it's in the first chapter, where the whole head is sick, because our people don't understand and value the importance of wisdom. And here it is, you have wisdom that is crying, you know, and uttering a voice, you know, and she uttereth a voice in the chief place of concourse to the prophets, through the Lord's prophets, right? They're speaking and giving our people understanding to be able to heal themselves. Yes, I'm speaking of healing in a physical sense, but the healing really and truly starts by this word, right? So let me get Proverbs, and I'll get Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7, and it says, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all that getting, get understanding, right? So that's really the principal thing that actually that our people actually and truly need, right? But a lot of our people reject it because what does that do? It leads them to not being healed. So they stay in that destitute position, right? Of them, you know, being, you know, whoever they are, right? Because they can't, you know, you know, get rid of those different plagues and demons that they're always attacked with, right? So, you know, wisdom really and truly is the principal thing, right? So that's why we're properly being brainwashed to be able to alleviate ourselves and then to fight off these different attacks, because we know how Esau fights. Esau, he comes with different attacks, whether it's through the media, whether it's through the TV, whether it's through the air, the water, the food, you know. So understanding these things, it makes you a better fighter, right? So knowing how your enemy fights. So we use the word, and, you know, through these different accounts here, we read about them to be able to fire off, it's not fire off, but fight off these different fiery darts, right, that Esau throws off at us. Why the scriptures talk about how we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against through principalities, through powers and spiritual wickedness in high places, right? Because, you know, it's not natural for the people who rule to be spraying the people over, you know, with all these different chemicals and keeping the people sick, right? All these different devices are making people sick, right? You know, it's not natural to be putting pesticides in, you know, in the food, like these different things. But when you understand these things and you know, understand how Esau works, right, and how Esau fights, and, you know, you're able to kind of combat the way, you know, it just makes you a strong, well-equipped fighter, basically, right? That's why the scriptures say, turn thou, O Jacob, that thou mayest be illuminated. Understand who your enemy is and understand how your enemy fights, right? So let me read something here. Let me go over to one second. This is Sirach 38. Excuse me. This is Sirach 38, but not verse 9. And it says, my son, in thy sickness be not negligent, but pray unto the Lord, and he will make thee whole. Leave off from sin, and order thine hands aright, and cleanse thy heart from all wickedness. Give a sweet savor and a memorial of fine flour, and make a fat offering, not as being. Then give a place to the physician, for the Lord hath created him. Let him not go from thee, for thou hast need of him, right? And Yahushua exemplifies this understanding of actually being a physician, because he heals us, through this word. Remember when you go into the story of the woman that had that issue of blood, she just, all she wanted to do, she wanted to hold on and grab Yahushua's garment, right? And he felt that virtue leave him, right? So, it shows you that the word really and truly is a healing agent, but our people reject it, right? And the scriptures talk about they have loathed thy law and despised it, right? They shall know death by pain, right? So it shows you that, how important, holding on to Yahushua is, right? So, um, I'll leave the lesson there, but I just wanted to touch on that, kind of bounce around here and there, just in regards to the importance, of the herbs, and the importance of how the prophets, they knew about these particular things back in the ancient times, right? All these different celebrities and so on and so forth, they're not your leaders, right? And the scriptures talk about how the leaders of the people cause you to err, right? So, anyways, I'll leave the lesson there, but Lord's will, always, this was edifying. So I give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashem Shai. Until next time, I say Shalom.